All right, all right, all right. I am going to attempt to make this video with just a quick breakdown of the simplest way to look at a deal and analyze a deal. And I'm going to attempt to do this without being interrupted with children. So let's see how it is. So basically, it's sometimes it seems overcomplicated, right? Or confusing on how I should pitch it, but it's really, really simple. I mean, really all we're trying to do is talk to clients, talk to people that, have some kind of pain going on in their life or a reason or some kind of motivation that they need to get rid of a home, right? That they want to sell a home. So the art of talking to people and the art of having a conversation, um, and finding out what the problem is, if there is a problem, and then how you can fix it is all we're trying to do. And everybody's got a different story. So some people might be, going through something bad in their life, a divorce, a death, a loss of job, or whatever the case is. And other people might be just wanting to get the most they can to get rid of something because they think it's the right time, right? So, or there might be, there might be a million different things going on, but really finding out what that pain, what that motivation is going to be where you start. And regardless of what it is, you're going to go over what those options are. You're going to explain to them what they work, what they mean. It's not rocket science, right? And this is what I tell clients when I talk to them. It doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to do anything magical or special, whether it's traditional or creative or acquiring or whatever it is. To do it, they're all going to look at numbers. And if the numbers make sense in different situations or circumstances, then those are options that they can provide for you, or offers that might be sound good to you, right? So really quick, let's jump into it and just go over some examples of if I'm talking to somebody, right? If I'm talking to somebody and and they're looking to get rid of their house and they are asking me questions, and I'll go over the pain or the motivation here for that part later on. But I'm really going to write down about 3 different options. Let me back up first, actually, because the first thing I want to do is do something I've learned from the real estate club over here, the Inland Valley Real Estate Investor Club. And this is something that I know some of the experienced guys that have been doing it for a while really focus on and do every time, right? And they find somebody who is looking to sell their house, and they're going to get in front of them in person with a paper and really have a good conversation to find out what the problem is. So the first thing they do is draw a T-chart. And up here, it's let's see if I could do this on this board, where you are and where you want to be, right? So to look at that, we have to talk to people and find out where they're at, right? Whatever that is, can't afford house. That might be where they're at right now. Afford house. Wife left, right? That could be one there too. Too many repairs. Right? Maybe the house is in really bad condition and they don't know what to do. They can't sell it on the retail market. Nobody will want it. They can't afford to fix it up. There's that going on, that might be a hard problem. It's like the feeling of, what do I do? Where am I at? What I'm doing on this side of this T chart is I'm finding out the problem. I'm finding out where their life is right now. Kids are all gone. They all moved away. And I'm alone, right? Maybe that's a problem. Too many cats, right? It could be a lot of things. Too many cats, need homes. Okay, these are all problems that you want to find out that you can solve if possible, right? And when you're talking to somebody, and I don't care if you're selling loans or real estate or vacuum cleaners or whatever the case is, this is just how to talk to someone. This is sales 101 of how to talk to people. right? You're always, if you're selling a product and there's no need for that product, or you don't know the reason that somebody would want to buy it, then you're not really in sales, and you're really not trying to solve problems, and you're really not trying to fix situations. You're just being given something. And whenever you're given something, there's always something needed in return, right? If you've ever signed up for a free seminar, there's always something, right? That's called a hook. And they're going to want you to sign up for a little more expensive one or buy a product, whatever the case is. So just realize, if you think you're a rock star, but you're not doing anything and you're not solving problems and you're not really having good communication, you're a temporary rock star because of the market, because of somebody else set the need for you, because of whatever the reason is, right? So again, where are you? Find these ask these questions, right? And go deeper on all these questions. Wife left. What happened? Do you mind going into it? Are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? Can't afford the house. What's the reason for that, right? Why can't I erase? Go deeper. Did they lose their job? Did they have an adjustable loan and went up? Did taxes get reassessed? They can't afford it. Did they take on the need to care for their mother or father or something like that, right? There could be a lot of reasons, but you have to find out what those are. Too many repairs. What happened? Once again, right? Oh, wait, I forgot. I'm sharing the screen over here. Okay, what happened? What broke? What caused it to break? Was there a fight? Was it just old age? What happened on those? Kids all moved away. Oh, what do you plan to move with them? What are your plans? Like, do you want to move over to them? Do they still help you out? Do you have a good relationship? Do you need help with anything else? Do you need to mow your yard, right? Find these problems here. And then on the other side, we want to ask where you want to be, right? Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, where do you want to be? I want to, whatever, rent something I can afford, right? And don't make fun of my writing here, because A, I don't have good writing, and B, I'm writing on this whiteboard pad that isn't the easiest, right? I want to rent something I can afford, or I want to buy something I can afford, right? Right? Whatever those reasons are, it could be either one of those. Wife left. I need to move on with my life, right? Whatever those are, move on with life. I need to get out of this place. It's got bad memories. Whatever the case is, you want to find out where they want to be. They want, I want a simple life. Simple life. Oh my gosh. Simple life that I can afford on my fixed income. Right? Whatever it is, I want to take care of cats and save as many as I can, right? Whatever it is. So where are we at now? Because where we at now is there's a problem. And it could be anything, right? We know problems are different for everybody. So somebody who might not be able to afford their house, or it could be, I own 3 homes and I just don't want to deal with tenants anymore. And I want the best price I can get now. Or I think the market's going to crap out and I think it's topped out and I want to get rid of it. I mean, whatever the problem is, wherever they are right now is what you're asking and what you're going into. And I see like experienced guys that will spend 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes just on this, right? Because this is the beginning. This is where you find out what the problem is and how you're going to fix it. And then going forward, then you're going to go into the ways that you can fix it, right? So let me see. Can I do this? All right, I can. Okay. So I'm going to erase that. So when I'm talking to a client, I'm basically going to go over a few different things. And the first option is always going to be a cash option, right? What does a cash option mean? It means that you're offering, it's the wholesale way, right? I'm going to offer you what every other wholesaler is pretty much going to offer you. And I will explain why that offer is the way it is. All right. So I'll go over and say, okay, so, whatever we look at, we typically will look at 3 or 4 different comps, right? Maybe I look at Zillow, Redfin, Homes, or a realtor, or a title automated valuation, or whatever the case is. And they say, yes, okay, so it looks like this one's 380, this one's 390, this one's 410, whatever. Let's just say, okay, your home in good condition with what the neighborhood's doing, its loan to value should be, or its ARV, its after repair value should be, let's just say 400K for an example, right? It's 400K. Now, pretty much every wholesaler or every fix and flipper or every investor is going to try to stick with the rule that's the most common, which is the 75% rule, right? They're going to basically take 400,000 and they're going to take that and they're going to say times 75%. And I'm going to offer 300K, right? But wait, we got to back out other things. So I got to back out repairs. Let's just say there's $75,000 of repairs, right? So in this case, I'm going to go and I'm going to be saying my offer is going to be about 225,000. And that's where most wholesalers are going to be. Yes, can they push this up to, 80%? Depends on the market. If it's a market that's constantly appreciating and going up, 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 in areas like here in California and stuff, yeah, you'll see 80, sometimes 85%, right? Or maybe there's no repairs and I can scratch that out, right? But I have to be able to find something that makes sense for me, the investor, to hold or to flip or to find somebody else that we work with to give you or to get that property at the discount that they need, right? Now, the other way you could break this down is looking at or explaining, I should say, rather, of what the actual breakdown looks like, right? So let's forget the 75%. Let's say it's a $400,000 loan. Well, I can go in here and let's just see if I have it pulled up and say, I'm going to take my whiteboard away really quick. And let's just pick a house. I don't know. Here we go. For sale. And I love this new feature on Zillow because it's pretty much, I'm not just telling you, you're seeing it, right? You can see how much it really does cost to sell a house, usually, I think, on Zillow. Where's it at? Let's see if we could find it. Maybe I lied. Is it down here? Principal and interest, not included, monthly cost. Okay, well, I take that back. Usually, it will tell you. Let's see if we find it. I look at my phone usually, and it is different. So, oh, you know what? I think it's because I'm looking at sold properties. Let's just go in here. Let's just pick a house. And I'm pretty sure it'll tell you what it would cost you to sell it. So this is cool. Yeah. So I'm sorry, it's not houses for sale. It's people like obviously for Zillow to entice them wanting to sell. So I will use this and say, you can look right on Zillow. It's not like I'm making up numbers, but you can say that in this area, the average cost, the estimated total selling cost is going to cost you 9% of selling your home, right? So, and that's, estimated repair cost. Maybe it's just like staging it, landscaping it, right? Estimated closing costs. You got real estate fees, you got your selling concessions, you got your closing fees, right? So I'm like, so it's not coming from me, or because if I were to tell somebody, yeah, it's going to cost you 9%, probably 10%, whatever, to sell your house, people say, yeah, right. Or I know I can get cheaper, or whatever the case is. But let me show you even what the internet, because we all believe the internet says, right? So let's just say if I'm buying this house from you and I'm going to have to sell it eventually, right? And I'm going to have to pay these costs. I'm going to have to pay $9,000, right? Or 9% rather, right? So I'm going to say 400,000 times 9%. is 36,000, right? So let's just say I'm at 36K. That's just to get rid of the house, right? Minus, what do we say? 75K for repairs, right? So now I'm going to have to come in here. I'm going to have to try to get this home up to $400,000. And when I do, after I repair it and put my $75,000 into it, I'm still going to lose $36,000 just trying to sell it, right? And now we're not even talking, we haven't even addressed holding costs. Let's say I have to go get money for this, right? How much is holding costs going to cost me? So if I go to a private money lender, and I have to get a $400,000 loan to fix this up, and let's just say we know that they are, I mean, that would be really good these days, but that would probably be more like 11. And I would probably be more around interest only. But let's just say it takes me 3-4, you tell me how long it takes to fix up a house. On average, 3 to 6 months, right? Maybe I do 4 months, right? So let's just say 3,600 times 4. 3,600 times 4 is 14,400. Okay, so I'm going to say I'm going to probably lose another 15K. I'm going to go light on this one, 15K, because I should probably go a lot higher, to be honest, because I know that these are a little higher, might take longer. I didn't really even put in there the amount of the points. They usually charge a couple points up front as well, right? Which would be like $8,000. And then their title escrow or whatever, their closing fees as well to close the loan. But I'm going to have to use it because I'm not going to just throw around $100 or $400,000. I have to get it from a bank and I have to use it. I'm going to actually put this at 20K. It's probably a little higher still, but that'll give me some idea, right? So I could just go back and say, okay, if I do 400,000 minus 75,000 minus 36,000, went backwards there, minus 20,000, I can see that I am out at $269,000, right? And that is making $0. That is a big $0 made for all this risk, for me having to buy a home, find the money, take a loan out, put the money into it, and then try to get rid of it or sell it or whatever the case is, right? That's going to be really hard. And these two are interchangeable ways of actually pitching it. This one is the 1A. Let's call this 1A. And this is the 1B method. I can go and make it simple. And I usually will say, this is how it works, right? Typically, they're going to give you 75%. Every wholesaler, acquisitions person, investor is going to look at that 75%. Some places, like in other parts of the country, they might be looking at 65 or 70, right? Just depends on where it is. But they're going to try and drive this down as low as possible. And 75 is there. Like I said, other places might be 80. But whatever it is, in this market, we're going to go off this market, which is very hard to find a buyer. Not that homes aren't appreciating, but the rates are a lot higher. So buyers are a lot harder to qualify, right? In fact, most buyers are probably investors of some sort, or they have different game plans. Simple way of showing it. So here's where I'm going to try and get my number to on this one is 225,000. And I can look over here and say, okay, well, for me to take all this risk, I need to make at least 20,000 or say 25,000, right? I might actually have to hold this for 2 or 3 months longer. That's going to cost me $20,000 or $10,000 more, or $7,000 more, right? 3 months, a little over $10,000 more. I might go over budget. I might get caught, with a permit needed. This value might go down. All this risk is worth something in its value. So if I'm looking at this and I say, well, I need to at least have a $20,000 fee built into it, because that's what I'm going to look to make on this, right? Now I know I can do that, and I can probably making that $20,000 fee. I know I can get this down to maybe 249, but that's kind of risky, right? I might actually have a cushion and say, let's let's actually make it 245, right? I'm on the computer, young man. Sorry, I have a little one. Okay, tell them I said you could. Okay, so I'm probably gonna say like 245 is it's kind of sketchy, honestly, right? I mean, maybe I get it done in 2 months, maybe it's a little less on the cost, but we're pretty accurate on when we're doing these, right? We can get a pretty good idea. There's a million calculators out there. There's a million ways there's this thing called Google that everybody uses. I could find out how much it's going to cost to fix a house. There's these other things called friends, and friends that are contractors can give me an idea of what it's going to cost. So obviously having good friends that can help you with that stuff is going to be key. But knowing that 245, now this might be my max limit, right? So I might say I'm trying to get this at 225, but if I get it for 245, I could probably still make it work. What is 245 divided by 400,000 is about 61. Let me take that back. 245,000. So I'm reverse engineering, by the way, I'm reverse engineering this method here, right? So it's 225 plus 75,000 plus 75,000 divided by 400,000. And that actually is putting me right at 80% ARV. So that would probably be the absolute most I would pay. And this would be the best I would pay. And if I'm talking to somebody and I'm getting these numbers here, and the reason I like this method, by the way, is I break it down. If I was actually talking to them, I might, like I said, this might be, this holding cost might be a little longer, especially in this market and these types of houses. This could change. You never know with equity, right? But I know I'm going to be in between 225 and 245, right? Somewhere in here. I'm going to try to get this. I might still make it work at this, but what I'm going to do at this number is I'm going to say, well, if you want, I mean, we can write up a contract at 245 and then I will get my team on it and we will look and we'll make sure it works, right? We're going to obviously get boots on the ground, get somebody in there, make sure the repairs are about right on the estimate. And we're going to put it out and see if anybody else would even buy this at a 245,000 or 80% ARV after repairs, that we can actually sell it off to, right? So if we are wholesaling it. So basically what happens is I know I can do this. This one is an easy breezy. I'm going to find a buyer or I'm going to grab it myself. This number is I'm going to explain to them and say, I could definitely try that. But if we don't have buyer, the investors don't agree, then we might come back and have to talk about changing it up or doing a different strategy, right? That's my number one option. So when I'm talking to the buyer or the seller rather, right, I can break it down simple and then I can expand on why that number is like it is, right? So this is the traditional way of doing it. This is how I can get to the highest price. And I know I could be somewhere in there to make it work. And sometimes I might just say, you know what, to make it safer for you as well, let's go in the middle. Let's go 232.5 or whatever it is, right? Or 235, whatever that is. So that's your first option. What's my second option? Well, your second option, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is you can do a creative finance, creative term, basically, right? Well, let's just call it what it is. Creative finance. What is creative finance? Well, if you have a mortgage, let's see, have mortgage. What we would do is we would take over that mortgage and we pay it going forward. We go get title, right? So we buy the house basically. And we buy the house goes in our name, mortgage stays in their name, and we make payments on it. And if we ever default, everything's done obviously by escrow, by legal, by servicing company, right? You want to make sure everybody's aware of that you're not some guy off the street trying to swindle them out of something, right? But this is where you're going to get into, and I'll go into expand on a little bit too, because there's a couple different ways of doing this. But I'm going to take over your mortgage. You are no longer liable for the repairs or making payments, or if it's tenant occupied, whatever the case is. We're going to pay it, and we're going to deal with everything there. Now, you have equity in it. We're also going to talk about how we can pay you out. If you have, if I look at this number up here and I'm like, okay, it's 400,000. I'm going to put all these repairs in it. Here, let's do an example, actually. You know what? Let me do this. So this is, and let's go break it down into the same example, right? It's a 400K. You're going to have to deal with me trying to write on this thing, right? ARV. Mortgage is 200K at $1,000 a month, right? This home rents for $2,500, let's just say. So we would have a couple options here. They have a mortgage at 200,000. Now we know there's repairs needed and there's stuff like that that's needed, right? But in this scenario, this would either be, again, we'd find an investor that would want to take it, or we would want to buy it into our own asset portfolio as well, because this could cash flow, right? So what I want to do is I want to find out what it does cash flow at, because here I can go into say, okay, what if I did buy this for 400K, right? That's a bad 400K. I want to buy it at 400K, but I want to take over your $200,000 mortgage. That's $1,000 a month. Let's just say taxes and insurance are, I don't know, 400. Let's just say a month, right? So I have to be in here $1,400 right now a month just to pay what you currently have. It's at 2,500, and typically what you're going to want to do when you are holding a property is you want to be able to cash flow, unless you have a ton of properties and you're trying to get a negative asset, right? But we're not talking about that right now. You want to either cash flow at 20%, and you also want to have a emergency fund or a war chest or whatever you want to call it. That's anywhere from 15 to 20% as well, right? For repairs and whatnot. So I'm just going to kind of keep it moderate and say I want at least a 30% cash on cash return, maybe 10 for my war chest and 20% cash flow. So if I have 2,500 times 30%, I want to cash flow 750. I'm just going to write that here. Flow needed. So what does that mean? That means right now, I'm at 2,500, right? 2,500 minus 1,400. Yes, I am using a calculator over here. Gives me $1,100 to work with, but I need to make sure I cash flow at 750. So what if I bought this and I said, I can give the seller, I can first off, get rid of your mortgage, right? So especially that might be the biggest factor of it all. You might not need to go to the step because you're just getting rid of a mortgage, right? But I can also pay you $350 per month for however long it takes me to pay off the other $200,000, right? If there's repairs, to be honest, too, I'd probably say like, okay, well, $400,000 minus repairs. Let's just say it's 325. Could you sell it at 325? Because I've still got to come up with that money, right? I got to pay that off. This scenario is great because now I can do it. And, let's just say I buy it at 325. And by the way, if there was no repairs needed, you could buy it at 400,000. It really doesn't. You can buy it at $1 million. It doesn't matter as long as you can set up this term to make sure that you cash flow. If you don't cash flow, then you don't do it. So it's $350 a month. I could pay you. Well, how long do you pay me that for? Until I pay the $125,000 difference. Let's see. What would that be? If you gave me this loan at 125,000. And let's just say, because I am paying full price, you're giving me a 0 interest loan. You're letting me pay it off. Oh my gosh, would you look at that? That is a perfect scenario. 347. I pay you $350 for the next 30 years, right? To pay off that 125,000. Well, I won't be alive in 30 years. Okay, well then you can transfer this to your children. Somebody else can get it. You can set them up to kind of get a residual income, or we can just say that we'll put a note in here, or we can put some disclaimer in there, for example, that maybe after 10 years, we will pay it in full, right? Whatever the balance is, right? So it's going back to my old handy dandy trusty amortization. So maybe 120 months go by and I still owe you $83,000. If that works for you, now that you're getting rid of your mortgage payment and you're getting rid of any taxes, insurance, anything like that, I've been paying you $350 a month for 10 years, and then I could write you a check for 83,000, right? You can structure it however you want at this point, and you don't want to tell a client how to structure it. You want to let them know how would they want it structured, right? So we probably heard this from a lot of people on YouTube and the internet, but you're the bank right here in this scenario. This is there's a bank here, and this person is the bank as well. Now you're the bank. You tell me what makes sense for you, and I will buy the property as long as I make sure I cash flow enough to have the emergency fund for additional repairs and whatever else too. Okay. That's actually what we would call is more of a hybrid, right? This is a hybrid model because it has sub 2 and it has seller finance, right? Okay, so other ways to look at this, and I would recommend writing, just as we're doing right now. If you're talking to somebody, be writing this down, be writing it down in front of them, making them write it with you, whatever the case is, because trying to talk to somebody and just tell them all this stuff is going to pretty much go in one ear and out the other, and nobody's really going to pay attention. And at the end of the conversation, you're going to get yeah, that sounds great, and then never hear from them again, right? So we've all done that too. Like, oh, everybody was on board. It seemed great, but what happened? They ghosted me. That usually the reason. If I don't understand something, human nature tends to avoid it, right? So make sure you are with them writing this down. Make sure they are on a Zoom with you or FaceTiming with you. Make sure they're writing along with you and ask questions. Does this make sense? Are we on the same page? Do you understand? Okay. So anyways, going back to that now, if this was a $400,000 ARV and say they owed $325,000, right? And their payment was, I don't know, that was 7,000. It was 1,300, 1,350, we'll call it, which is the same amount as the seller. It's the same math, right? If they're 325, now I'm not going to do this, right? This would be a subject to only. This is, I'll buy the house because you got a lot of repairs that need to do, and I'll give you full market value minus the repairs. I'll give you $325,000, and I'll go personally put my $75,000 to fix this house up. And in return, you don't have to come up with it, and you don't have to pay this mortgage anymore, and you can get on. Now I might, work out whatever deal. Maybe they say, well, I need $10,000 to get set up in a new house, or I need $5,000, or I need whatever. So awesome. Let's do that too. I'll write a check for 5,000 to you and 75,000 for the repairs if I have to, right? So those are things I could do, because in this scenario, all we care about is cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. If I have this cash flow, if Jim next door has this cash flow, hold on one second.
Hold on.
Yes.
Found Ryland's suit.
Awesome. Go put both your suits on.
I found Ryland's ninja suit.
I know. Where's yours?
Oh, it's in my room.
Okay, I want to see you both put them on, because mommy's going to be here soon, and you can show her. Got to have ninja suits. So again, cash flow here. Now, create a finance, a third method, right? So we have a hybrid. We have a sub 2 only, right? There's no equity in it for what they're trying to do, but I could take over the payments and it makes sense, and I could still cash flow. you could probably guess what the third option in this category is. And I'm expanding on these because you'll know by the first part of this conversation when you're asking these questions and you're finding out the details of their current situation, you should probably know if they have a mortgage or not, right? And you should probably have an idea how you're going to structure this as you're talking to them. And you got it. The last option is there is no mortgage. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's just take out all of that. Mortgage is 0. Awesome. Here's a plan. I can pay you $1,350 a month. I'll buy this house for you and I'll pay you $1,350 a month. Nothing up front. What do you need? Again, what are your, where is it where you want to be? What are your wants and needs, right? So sure, whatever it is, I don't care. I could probably pay you. And typically people like to be under 10% of entry fees. So say I'm buying for $325. Maybe I can pay them, and I will have costs and stuff like that, but maybe I could pay them $30,000 or something like that. Find out what they need. Maybe they only need 5,000. Maybe they don't need any money. They just want to get rid of this stupid house and they have an investment property in Hawaii that they're going to go live in and make their primary home, right? They don't care. They're okay. They just want to get rid of it. I don't want to fix up this house I don't even want to live in anymore. Take it. Please just give me something for it, right? You will see people that will do that. And they say, you give me $1,350 forever. And when I die, it goes on to my kids. And that can help with probably a car payment at that time, but who knows? And you can take this home and you go deal with it. You fix it up and you deal with tenants and everything else. We're off to Hawaii, right? So whatever it is, the math is always the same, right? I just want to work these numbers to always make sure I'm in the same position, however that is. If this is 1,100, I could pay them 250. If this is 800, I could pay them 550, right? Whatever those numbers are. These are just different ways of doing it. So going back here, you have option 1. I'll let you know how the wholesale side works and what people are going to call you and offer you, if I could speak, for your house, which is typically 75% of the ARV minus repairs. And I will break that down to you for you as well and see what the max could be. But if we go that route, then I'm going to let you know now that it's 50-50. We'll do everything in our power to find a buyer because I want you to make more money, but it's definitely just a little tighter because people are not wanting to buy that if they're going to take on all the risk, right? If they're going to take on all this risk. I mean, they might end up, you might be at 85, 90% by the time it's done. You see it all the time, especially if you have something with a permit or the city get involved, right? So that's option 1. Option 2, I give you more money. You want 225 to 245, or do you want $325,000, $100,000 more? Well, if you don't need that, so I look at this as the fast and easy way, right? You don't pay for anything. There's no appraisal. There's no real estate fees, title fees, or anything like that. You don't really pay for anything here, but you get paid over time. So here you make $100,000 more, but it's over time, right? This is the best option for somebody, but if they don't understand it and you haven't explained this to them, a lot of people will just take this one because they want the lower or the quick money, right? The quick and easy money. So option 2. Option 3, I always tell people, is fix it and I'll help sell. Whoa. Retail. And this is what everybody sees. This is what you see on Zillow, right? Home listed by a real estate agent trying to get top dollar for it. Now here they might say, okay, so you just need to go get 75,000, fix it up to fix. I'm going to list it for 400K. You might even get 410, Mr. Borrower, because I'm that good of a real estate agent, right? Cool. Well, 410 is going to still have the same closing cost, real estate fees, and everything else. So I'm going to take out 36,900. So I'm just going to minus 40 or 37,000. This is really bad. I'll get better with this here. Minus 37K. So you're going to get, what is that? 373K. Right? So obviously this is the most money here. Now you can get 100 or 50,000 more than doing this option. You could get $150,000 more than just wholesaling it. But what do you need to do? You need to come up with $75,000 to fix it up yourself, right? Because a real estate agent will list it on the market and they'll list it really low, and good luck finding it. So here you have, it's retail. It's like going to Target versus, going to Costco, right? You have some good things and bad things over here. So let's see. Good things. You make the most money, right? You can make it's the best way to do it because you're selling retail just like any other product in our country. Makes the most. I mean, that's really, to me, that's only the best part about, the only good thing about it, because you're going to have the most money out there and you're going to have more people interested in it, possibly because they can see it all on the internet nowadays. But the bad, I don't really even know. The things that you have to consider, I should say, they're not bad. You just have to consider them. It might not matter for you. You might not be in a rush or need it, but it might sell the market a lot longer, right? Well, we know that, like I said, there's bad because you have to fix it. And then you have to wait for somebody to come up to your offer and pay 400 or 410 or 390 or 430 or whatever it is. And then if that doesn't happen, you're going to have to go adjust pricing and wait and wait and wait. So it really depends the person's situation. I've had people that say, I'm in no rush. I really don't care. I want top dollar. My house was built 3 years ago. It's perfect. I don't really need it. But I want to get rid of it. And I don't want to go this method here, right? It's funny, right? Because actually, if you think about it, this offer, if I did this, right, let's just say 410 costs 37,000 to sell it, minus I also put in 75,000, right? So I actually have about $298,000 of profit. This made me $325,000. So this makes the most, let me rephrase this, the most immediate money. I'm a doctor, so you probably can't read my writing. That's immediate money, right? This will make you the most money over time. And those are really the only 3 options. Now, there are other things you can do. And I really I leave these as just options. I don't really want to go down those roads, but you can do novations, you can do wraps, you can do lease backs. I mean, there's other, so I always kind of I group that into other one. And I say there are other things out there, but they probably don't really, they're not really exciting, right? Except, maybe they are for the right person, not for me, but I could do a novation, right? Just do an agreement. I dump in the money, fix the property, we sell it on the regular market, and then we split the profits, right? So if that was the case, they owe 200,000. I give them 75,000. We get 300, and so we're at 275. We get 373 on the open market. We sell it after our commissions, right? After these, and we split 100 grand, and we each get 50, right? That's a novation, just a contract. I don't own the house. I'm just doing a contract that I will split profits with them, basically, and I'll put the money up to fix it. Or I could wrap it, right? I buy it and I sell it back to them at a little higher price than what I get it for, or somebody else rather, right? Wrap is like, I can buy a house from Barbara. I'll use my general names that I always use. Barbara sells me the house at $1,000 a month, and I take it and I subdivide it, or I put something on it, or I do nothing to it, whatever it is, and I wrap it, or I resell it at terms of $1,500 a month, right? I'm basically just taking a mortgage and I'm wrapping it with another mortgage or lien or loan or whatever you want to call that. So there's other ways of doing it as well, but for what we're talking about, you really only have to go over 3 options. And I'll go over it one more time just to reiterate it and make it as simple as possible. So now that we wrote all this down in the long version, when I'm talking to somebody, I'm talking to them. I'm telling them I'm interested in buying their house. I love this neighborhood. I really want a house over here on Main Street. It's beautiful. It's awesome. My family might want to live there. I know you're looking to sell, or are obviously contemplating that you want to sell it, but let's just see what makes sense for you. First off, I want to know where you are right now. Write this down. I'm going to go over that. Dot, 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 dot. Okay. Where do you want to be? You're basically asking, how are we going to fix your problem? What am I going to do to resolve you? And then I'm going to break into how it works. The how it works strategy is just explaining different things. Okay, Barbara. Love Barbara. Okay, Barbara. So let me go over really quick how it works and what the best ways are to, get rid of a property that you're trying to do because you want to get rid of and take care of all the cats in the world that you possibly can. And it's just too much work going on for you. And this property has a lot of repairs and you don't have the money to fix it. And it's just tight, right? You're going to run into a lot of people that come in here, wholesalers, acquisition people. They probably might have got calls from them as well, maybe not, but they're typically going to take whatever they find as the value of your home, the after repair value that they call it, and they're going to give you about 75% of it. And then whatever those repairs are, they're going to deduct that from it as well, right? And that's pretty much what you're going to look at for most of them. Again, sometimes they'll push it up to 80. Some people will tell you it's only 50,000 repairs, or some people tell you it's 100,000. Just depends on what strategy they're doing. Some people will offer you, 320,000, and then right before closing, which is horrible, but I've seen it all the time, and I've seen it for 20 years, even in mortgage, the bait and switch, or whatever you want to call it, but they'll offer you 320, and then they'll come back 3 days before closing and say, oh, it's actually only 225 because that's all I can really give you, or 240 or whatever, right? I don't like that, but that happens all the time. So be careful with that. This is the rule that they are all trained and taught. I'm telling you because it's an option that I give you as well, right? Does that make sense to you? Kind of. Let me break it down for you really quick. You have your pen and paper, or can you watch what I'm doing, right? Okay, if it's $400,000, and we know that over here, we get rid of it. We know we have 9% to get rid of for closing costs. When I sell it, that I'm going to have to pay an agent. I'm going to have to pay title escrow. I'm going to have to do a little bit of staging or whatever, right? I'm probably going to have about $20,000 of holding costs, $75,000 of repair. And I got to have something that is actually made for it, right? Because that's how we feed our family as well. That's how we run a business, right? And this one obviously varies quite a bit because, like I said, these things can go up. Repairs can go up, holding costs can go up, values can go down. But we have to make sure we're covering ourselves. So, if I gave you 245, that would be the ultimate max. But if we wanted to do a contract at 245, I'll tell you right now, I just want to be upfront with you that it's a possibility that we can get rid of this really quick for you, going this method and get you that money, but I don't want to make a promise on it, right? So I would do everything in my power. If we did a contract today and we have a 10-day period, I would do everything in my power to try to find somebody, whether it's internally with our branch or with our team of investors or outside investors, whatever it is, that somebody would buy it for you there. But we know a lot of them are wanting it around this number, right? So that's an option here. I typically would say with most people is, like I said, let's go somewhere in the middle. And if I'm pretty confident that at 235 that we can find the buyer internally or in our networks or communities here. Okay. Because I'd like to give you a little more than that. I want to give you as much as I can. I just don't want to make promises I can't keep. Okay. Now, the second option that you will hear from a lot of investors as well is creative finance. And they're going to call it a lot of different names. It really means one of three things. It means I'm either going to take your mortgage subject to, which means I'm going to take over your mortgage and start paying it. We're going to buy the house. We're going to go on title. Mortgage is going to stay in your name, and we're going to make sure it's all done legally and through the lawyers and escrow companies and whatnot to have servicing and everything set up correctly. But we will be paying your mortgage. You don't ever have to worry about it again, right? That's called subject to. We take over the mortgage. You don't deal with it. If you were renting it or anything like that, or something breaks, you don't have to worry about anything because you don't own the property anymore, but the mortgage is still in your name. And if that's something of interest, then we'll dive deeper into that as well. The other part of that, and hopefully, like I said, if there's a mortgage or not, is I can do a seller finance option. If you don't have a mortgage, you don't owe anything, I can make you the bank, meaning I pay you a certain amount. You tell me what that amount is that you need. And you don't ever have to worry about the property again, right? Because we are buying the property. You are now the bank, just like if I went to get a bank loan from somebody else that I make monthly payments to. So that would be your seller finance option, or seller carryback, or seller whatever. Again, tons of names. And then the last one in that model is going to be a hybrid model, meaning I have a mortgage, but I also have equity even after doing, somebody spending $75,000 for repairs. I still have equity, and I want something for that. Awesome. I will take over your mortgage like we talked about, and I will still pay you a monthly payment based off your equity over time. Again, you you let me know the terms, but this is typically what we're going to need for our cash flow. So we have enough for obviously regular cash flow. And we also have reserves when stuff breaks or it sits vacant or whatever happens, right? And this is a pretty low number in this model as well. A lot of people are going to want a little bit more. I want to be able to get the property. If I'm making something, it's better than nothing. The rest is going to lie on us and our team to actually get it taken care of, right? So this option I just told you, called Creative Finance, that is going to give you the most money, but it's over time, right? You're going to make the most money doing that over time. And if you need money up right away, or you don't need it, and then you just collect it over time, or whatever the case is, we'll talk about that as well. I'm going to go over this briefly. Or not, I guess it's not briefly, we'll talk a while, but I'm going to go over the options, and then you can decide if any of them are the right fit for you. And if so, we'll do a deep dive into it as well. And then your last option, which is what everybody thinks, or a lot of people think it's the only way to do it, which is, let me just go get $75,000, fix up my house so it's marketable, and then I'll put it on the retail market. And that's a great option for a lot of people too, if they have the money and if they want to take the risk of, well, they have the money and they fix it up themselves, and they want to take the risk of waiting. These first two options, they're done deals, right? You'd be done in a couple weeks here. You'd be done in a couple, 2 to 4 weeks here. This could take 2 to 4 weeks, or it could take 6 months, or it could never happen, right? A lot of homes fall off the market when you get with an agent, but it is a good way to give you the most immediate money, right? So wholesale, discount, quick, fast, easy, because you don't pay anything, you don't do anything. It's just a done deal. Selling at retail, try and get a little bit more money. Again, it's not going to be that much more, right? After you take out the fees and what you had to put into it, and the time and energy and everything else. This wasn't the part that scares me the most. Is just like, is it going to sell or not? I don't know. And then obviously the option that gives you the most money is this, because you're pretty much selling it at what it's worth without all the commissions and everything coming out, right? And so I want to go over that too. Like I said, there's a few other options. If none of those make sense to you, there are other options, but again, they don't really feel like they fit what you're trying to do. The only one maybe would be like a novation agreement, but it's still kind of sketchy, and it's going to take time for those, right? Because we still have to, it's kind of like option 3, except we have to put up all the money, right? We're going to follow kind of that same model, if you will, but we're putting up 75,000. You don't have to put up 75,000. We're using our resources. We're doing our sweat equity to put that up for you. If those options sound good, and if those options are, if there's one of those options that you actually think would help you, let's talk about that and let's see what that is. And that's where that conversation, that would be my first 30 minutes of that conversation, to go over it and really educate my client and make sure they understand what we're talking about, right? I'm doing a couple things here. I am finding the problem. That's what this is for. I need to know why I am actually going to run numbers and what I'm going to think is going to be the best option for somebody when I start going over this. This is explaining solutions. Right? Explain a solution. Where's it at? Way down there, solution. Right? I'm explaining the solutions. I'm not telling them they have to sell it here. I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm saying how they work. These are ways that explain the solutions, right? And then after that, once you've gone through, and hopefully you've educated, because at the end of the day, you want to help people, right? That's the whole idea. We do this. We want to help people. I'm not chasing a paycheck. I really don't care. I'm not going to do something shady to try and screw somebody over to get paid, because this person I want to help, and I want to help get in a better situation. I want to make sure I'm taking, we run a business as well. We want to make sure it's done right, but I also want to help people. So, like I said, with these ones, you start talking about it like, well, if you give me $10,000, at least I can go get rent for, the next year, or maybe you put them up in rent, or whatever the case is. You want to help them fix the problem. That's the problem up here, right? Whatever that is. Explain solutions. Now we can actually go down to explain a solution, and then we can go down to, executing the solution. Okay. And that's another topic, because that's basically when you come to a way, you've explained the solutions and the ways to fix their problems, and you guys all agree that A, B, or C makes the most sense for them, then you can go down to executing that, getting the contract, putting in the correct verbiage, getting the right contracts. Let me put that correctly. Talking to a transaction coordinator to help you out, opening escrow, all that kind of stuff, which is another time for going over like the flow, if you will, or the system of it. This Zoom is really just for up front. Lots of people don't do this. They don't really find the problem. They rely on guessing the problem, right? Looks like they're having a hard time. Looks like they're in foreclosure. I know people that go bankruptcy and foreclosure because it's a smart thing to do for the business. Ask the questions. Talk to people. Don't guess. I think I know what the problem is, or there's not really a problem because it wouldn't be a problem for me. So how could it be a problem for this person? Guys, don't think how you would think. Ask questions. Learn to understand how other people think, what their situation is. You might think, I'm just going to sell it with a real estate agent because that's all I know. Well, that's why we talk about this, explain these other options for people. Because even though this is what everybody thinks, and it's what I thought for many, many, many years, I didn't really know about this. And sometimes if I did hear about it, I would block it out because I didn't know enough about it. It didn't make sense to me. It was why would anybody want to do that kind of thought process, right? So, but again, you don't know that because you haven't talked to the people. So go through that, explain the solution. This is all conversation, by the way. This is nothing that's going to be automated, because a computer is not going to talk and have emotion and tone and actually care about it and try to find out what it is that's going to be best for them. It might tell you what it thinks is best for them, but it's not going to find out what is best for that person and what they are feeling. So anyways, I want to leave it with that. Again, find the problem, explain the solutions, and then move on to executing a solution. Don't throw blind offers. Don't just guesstimate with numbers. Do it all while you're talking to the person. Let them be a part of it. Let them understand it. And it should help you get more clients as well, get more closings, and make more friends along the way. And these people that you help out, whichever way it is, might become lifelong friends, might send you more business, might have other opportunities for you as well, right? So with that, I will end it and get on some of these calls and go practice what I preach right now. Thanks all.